Hello fellow fraggers, my name is Frag himself, and this video is gonna be the continuation of my last video, so you can go and check it out before this one. So this one is gonna be about how the different characters in Frag are unbalanced, and I'm gonna give some ideas of some nerfs that should happen, I think, in this game to make the game much more balanced. So I think in this game there's been, especially in 2021, a huge separation between the new cards and the old cards in Frag, in terms of how strong they are. I mean, the new cards in Frag are so stronger, and of course there's gonna be a few new cards that are gonna be too strong, but in the vast majority, all the new cards are gonna be really the strongest in the game. By a long shot, and no pun intended. I mean, look, I'm not gonna surprise anyone by saying this, but make no mistake, I think that is by design. For some reason, I think the devs have been trying to make the characters in the higher arenas much stronger for some reason. I mean, if we take a look at all the new arenas, they contain all of the overpowered fraggers. Let's not lie here. Like, if we scroll back, the more we scroll back, the weaker the fraggers are gonna get. I mean, this is just like a trend that happens, and honestly, I think the only reason I think why the devs would do this is because I'm sure they think that it will make sort of an incentive for new players to unlock these characters. That's the only thing that would make sense for me. I don't see how that makes sense, because I think that really just unlocking characters is fun by itself. Like, you don't really need to push players to do it. And as players will play online and like get trophies, they're gonna unlock new characters anyway. And I'm sure it will be like fun anyway just to try new characters. You don't need to make them stronger than the characters they already have. That's my take on it. So what I propose essentially is try to make the game as much as possible even, so that all the characters are as strong as the other characters. Look, I don't think that's a very controversial take here. I think that's really simple, and I think even for new players that do not have all the new characters, I think they will be excited to unlock all the characters anyway. It will be probably even better for them, just because they're not gonna have to play against like stronger opponents that have unlocked all the broken characters. So here you go. I think this is what I propose. Make sure every character in the game are even, and if you don't do that, I think that people are gonna get like bored really quick. Because look, I've been starting to feel that way. Like, pretty much all the characters that you see, there's about like 20 characters that you see online at maximum, and that's pushing it. Like, most of the time you play against the same 10 characters over and over again, and although like maybe part of that is because of the players, most of all are gonna try to win as much as possible and not really just to have fun and try new characters. But I think also part of it is just because the game is so unbalanced that when you don't play these characters, you find yourself losing so much more from other people that are playing these characters, and you essentially say, if I can't beat them, I'm gonna join them. So I think that's a big problem that's caused due to the unbalanced nature of this game. So how do you fix it? Well, first of all, I think we should make sure to understand how buffs and nerfs need to happen. So what I mean by that is that you can nerf or buff characters without changing how they can be played, how their playstyle works, and how just overall they feel as a character. So I want to take, for example, the Volcano nerf that happened recently. Well, what they did with Volcano is that they made him crazy OP for a little bit, and then they nerfed him back again. But while they did that, they completely changed him twice. So Volcano at first was a slow character with low HP and a huge amount of damage. Then they took him to a fast character with low HP and an insane amount of damage. But now they nerfed him back again to a fast character with low HP but low damage as well. So they completely changed how Volcano feels. He's a completely different character now, and I don't think that's how they should nerf characters. I think every character in the game should feel unique. Like, of course, if you balance all the characters, in a way that they all have the same stats, it's not gonna be fun, right? You need different characters that have different abilities with different stats to make the game diverse and fun. So I think that's why you should make characters, you should buff and nerf characters so that they keep their strengths and their weaknesses, but you amplify the strengths and you amplify the weaknesses. Now that's an exception when the characters that you bring to Frag are just by design too OP to be kept the way they are, right? Their strengths are too OP to like change how they are, and I'll get into that more specifically next. So next we should see where does the distribution of buffs and nerfs should be. So I think in the game, and I'll talk about that more in the tier list I'm gonna be making soon, so you know, subscribe for that I guess. But I think there are pretty much like 20 cards that are below average, like way below average, like complete trash, and 20 more that are OP. And there's about like about 60 cards that are right in the middle that are not too bad but not too great either. They're like average. And this is in the 60 cards, I think there's still like huge differences between like the top of the 60 and the bottom of the 60, but all the characters should be able to fit in there. So as simple as it is, to have the less effort put into the buffs and nerfs, you should make sure to nerf the top cards and buff the bottom cards. The bottom 20 should be buffed. I think these buffs are gonna be pretty simple, so most of them are just, you know, increase the stats and increase maybe the speed, stuff like that. I think I'm not gonna talk about that really that much because I don't think it's as much of an issue right now as the OP cards. I think the OP cards should be buffed much sooner because they pose a problem, really like a huge problem, with the fact that you just have to play them. Like they dominate the meta so much. So yeah, that's what I don't like about the game right now. Like I've been trying to play online recently and it's really all the same. You play against the same deck over and over again. Kazulu, Jaeger, AO, blah 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 blah. Like try to do something new, you know? I'm trying to play new cards and you're there just try-harding with the same cards over and over again. But you know, don't hate the player, hate the game. And don't hate the game, do constructive criticism. So that's what I'm doing here. So essentially what I was trying to say is try to buff the worst cards in the game, but first of all, nerf the top cards. Nerf the Jaeger and the AO and all of the top like 20 cards up there, and maybe even more. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the video. I'm going to be giving some ideas for buffs and nerfs that I have written here. Just some ideas, but I think that really the Frag devs have been really shy about their nerfs recently. Like you look at the recent update, it's like you look at Jaeger and AO, these cards are so OP, and you sort of nerf them like, oh, 5% there, 4% there, oh, let's minus 1% DPS here. Like, who cares about this? Okay, you shouldn't be shy about the nerfs you do on OP cards. All right, that's what I say. So I've went all out to nerf like crazy all the top cards in the game here. Okay, like it's gonna change the meta so much that it's gonna be exciting, man. Like if you burn like Stella to the ground, these Stella players are gonna have to try something new, and I don't think that's bad. They might complain, but I think that's good for the game. So let's take a look at some of the things I've proposed here. Now, of course, I have not played the new character yet, Cyber Agent. I've not played him yet, so I haven't put him there, but he's probably gonna be OP as far as I've seen. Like, yeah, you guys should nerf him probably pretty quickly, but I'm not gonna guarantee that. Like, I don't really know because I haven't played him yet. So first character is gonna be Jaeger. So I thought a good idea for him, like his recent nerf, I don't think was really that influential. So I thought that you guys should nerf him again. Like the devs should nerf him again. And I have two ideas. Either you remove all of his healing, like completely. I think that's gonna make him feel different, but his healing and his ultimate ability combined, I think, are just too strong. So what I would say is you either remove all of his healing, and the option that I prefer is his ultimate ability does no damage. Alright? but it's still gonna heal. So I guess you know what I mean. So you can use his ultimate ability pretty much like every 10 seconds, I think, and it's gonna be able to heal you completely if you hit all of your specters, but it's not gonna do damage to your opponent. So I think that will be much more skill based to play Jaeger. It's essentially gonna be a heal based cards, and his AI is not gonna be too strong. He's not gonna be that annoying, but he's still gonna be pretty good because he's got a good main fire and super hard to get rid of, just because he's gonna heal all the time. So I think that will make him actually a very interesting character. So I like the second option better, but I decided to use two different kinds of nerfs so that the devs, if they are watching this, will be able to pick the one that they prefer the most. Next one is going to be AO. So AO has got a great amount of HP and an insane amount of damage. The thing is, he's kind of fast, and I think that if they made this character a little bit slower, maybe make him, well, quite a bit slower actually, like 7 or 8 kilometers per hour instead, it's gonna be much slower, much harder to get to the bunkers, like a much different card, but he's not gonna be as OP, and I think that will make him more balanced, so I think that's the way to go. Next nerf is gonna be Stella. Stella's been broken for so long. The problem is that so many players have her at a high level that if you nerf her too much, she's not gonna be viable for new players. So that's kind of a problem, which is why I think you should nerf the things that her frag powers enhance. So what I thought is you reduce the homing stars by 50%. That's a huge deal, okay? But that's gonna mean Stella is still gonna be able to use her homing stars to do damage, but it's gonna be much harder for these Stella players. I understand this is gonna change how much she feels as a character, and I think her homing stars are the things that make her unique, which is why I decided maybe for a second option that I like the most, which is you remove all the homing on her ultimate ability, and you might also need to remove a little bit of her damage. So of course, removing the homing on your ultimate ability with Stella is gonna mean that you're gonna have to use actual skill if you want to use her. So that might be a pretty interesting thing for a lot of Stella players to get used to. But I like the fact that she's a fast card. Her homing stars make her unique, annoying but unique, so I think that's important to keep in the game. Next gonna be Red Shadow. Red Shadow, kind of an underused card I think right now, but I do think he's pretty OP, because he can just wreck a team entirely, and the only reason why he's not as OP as he used to be is because there's new OP cards. Alright, so you want to nerf him, like probably after you nerf all these more OP cards, you want to nerf him. Maybe you reduce his speed and his frag power buff. So first of all, his speed 10.7 is kind of fast, but you could make him definitely slower and maybe make him rely more on his ultimate ability for movement. I think that will make him even more unique. And I think a big problem with Frag right now is that so many characters are really fast. Like, you could definitely slow characters down and increase some of their stats to make them more unique. So what you could do, essentially do the same thing as AO, reduce his speed by at 7 or 8 kilometers per hour. His frag power is kind of strong here. 20% speed is a huge deal, okay? So I think you should probably remove that. You should reduce that to either 15% or 10% speed. That's maybe not gonna make the pay-to-win players very happy here, but I still think it's gonna be a good balancing choice. Next is gonna be Darius. Darius is very, very OP. So what you should do probably here is you reduce his HP. His HP is just way too much here. Like 600 shouldn't be, like, he doesn't look that tanky here. So you could probably make it reduce his HP to maybe like Andro level. So let's say level 13 is 600. Andro is probably like 400. So that means 400. So you reduce it by maybe about 30%, 35. So I think that will make him a lot more vulnerable, but he's still gonna be crazy high damage, fast card. He's still gonna be unique and probably still very good, but reducing his HP is gonna make him much easier to get rid of. Alright, next card that I think most of us are really annoyed by, Kazulu. Kazulu is a very, very strong AI card, not just as a main. So I think that something that could be done to fix him, first of all, make him slower. He does feel like a card that should be slow, but he's really not. Like, he's a defender, so that's not gonna make him that bad if you make him maybe 7 or 8 kilometers per hour. But his ultimate ability is still gonna be very, very strong with AI. It does way too much damage, but somehow I think it should still stay in the game. I like the fact that it's so stupidly OP that it's kind of funny. So what you could do here is actually make him so that when he dies, all of his ultimate ability, what do you call them? Octotems, all of them get wiped out of the map. And like there's a maximum of 7 that you can do at a time. That's pretty huge number, but when you die, they all get wiped out. That might be interesting. I think he's still gonna be very, very good. So you might need to nerf him again, but I think it's worth a shot just trying this and seeing how that works. That's definitely not gonna make him feel any different as a character, and much more balanced. Next is gonna be Piper Reese. Piper Reese, I've sort of like getting kind of annoyed by her, but I still think she's a pretty hype card to play, so I'm sort of stuck in the middle here. She's a sniper, so kind of annoying, but she still, I mean, there have to be snipers in this game, like they're pretty important. So I think a good way to do it would be to make her ability cooldown twice what it is right now. I think her ability is really, really, really strong. Like, you can essentially just kill whoever you want at any point in the game, as long as you're remotely close to you. So making it longer will mean you're gonna have to manage your ultimate ability much more, be smart about it, and don't use it as soon as you can. I think that's a good way to balance her. And what you could do also is remove her explosion damage by 30%, because it may not feel like a lot, but once you start nerfing all of the best cards in the game, she might be very, very strong just with her damage on her sniper. So I think as a sniper, even if you nerf her ultimate ability, it might not be enough. So you might need also to nerf her damage on her main fire. So moving on to the other Piper, one I like the most is Evil Piper here. So I guess it's kind of, she's got like a main fire that's too strong here, right? Like 200 DPS at level 11, that's too much. So I think you nerf that by maybe 30%. That's gonna make her more interesting, because now her ultimate ability is gonna do more damage than her main fire. So like on bunkers, you have an incentive to actually use your ultimate ability. You probably also remove like slow her down when she's hit in her ultimate ability, because right now it's really, really strong. You can pretty much kill anyone in the game, except maybe like the more OP cards than her. So I think if you do that, she's gonna be much more balanced. Next we have Dolby. Dolby is not really a problem when you play him. Like, he's not broken, but it's his AI which is just too strong. He can kill a push entirely by himself, and I mean, maybe like a few months ago I would have said that like strong AR cards are good, but I think this is just a little bit too much. Even as a player, he beats you because you just like get stuck in his ultimate ability when you rush bunkers. A good way to solve it would be to remove the damage from his ultimate ability completely. Just remove it. So it's still gonna stun you, but you're still gonna you're not gonna take damage. So it's gonna be a little bit like maybe DJ Equalizer. DJ Equalizer is a pretty balanced card here. Of course, you don't need to use his ultimate ability on bunkers, but it's not gonna last as long. And of course, his AI, Dolby's AI, is gonna be much better at using his ultimate ability just to stun you than DJ Equalizer. So I think that will make him like maybe a little bit on the weak side. You might want to buff his damage, because his DPS is like really, it's not good. Like 80, you could buff it probably. Next thing we want to do, Wave. I think that Wave and Dolby, I really wish that they would have done a really original nerf. Like, it would have been pretty funny, where they essentially, on their ultimate ability, they both remove all the damage, but they keep the stun, and maybe even buff the stun effect. That would make them very original. So what it used to be for Wave is he would hit all the characters in the map with like 120 damage, something like that. So what you could do instead is you remove all the damage and extend his range to infinity as it used to be, but you keep the stun. So it's still gonna be like a stunning ultimate ability. You might also increase the stun duration from 1 second to like 2 seconds, and it's gonna be annoying, but it's gonna be balanced. So I think that's the way to go. You might also need to remove a little bit of his HP because he's not that tanky, but he's like 500 at level 11 is too much, I think. So you remove like 20% of his HP. It's gonna make him much more balanced and easy to get rid of, while still keeping his damage. Next nerf, Izuna. Izuna's too strong, I think, just because of her ultimate ability, so it's pretty simple. You just have the damage of her ultimate ability, and honestly that's all you need to do, I think. Next is Archon. Same thing with Archon. He's pretty hype, he's cool, and he's not the most OP card in the game right now, of course, but eventually if you nerf most of the OP cards, you'll see that his ultimate ability does too much damage. So, you know, just remove maybe something like 20-30% of his ultimate ability damage. That will make him much more balanced. And now we're gonna have like the new buffs. So we have Crystal, we have Lollipop, and we have Hunter, I think. We're also gonna have Duality, which was a buff that was a longer time ago, but still applies. I think all those characters were good the way they were introduced in the game. So you bring back Duality to what she used to be. Hunter's recent nerf doesn't need to exist really. Like he was fine before. Like he's gonna be kind of OP if you keep him the way he is, but not too OP. So I mean the buff wasn't too much either, so I think that will make him like fine. And next is Lollipop. I have played her a little bit, and honestly, like I feel like she does more damage, and her shots are easier to hit. But I mean, you could probably bring her back the way she was, and she was completely fine. Alright, so next here we have Lily. I think Lily is pretty balanced and fun. Her ultimate ability is fine. Just think her main fire might do too much damage, so maybe just nerf it a little bit. Not by that much, it doesn't need to be crazy, but maybe something like 10-20% would make her more balanced. I realize there's a lot of cards to nerf here, but I think that will be important. So next is Newt. I think Newt is eventually gonna be too OP. He's okay right now, but like once they nerf cards, he might get to the top pretty quickly. So, you know, just reduce his main fire damage by 20%. He's very tanky and might do a little bit too much damage for his tankiness. Ultimate ability for Newt is completely balanced. It's pretty fun. You might also want to buff it, make it do some damage maybe. Not too much though, but I think that will make it even more fun. Sunny is a card I like, but I think that his traps do too much damage, and honestly think that it would be even more balanced if you just remove all the damage from his ultimate ability, just make it stun, so that when you plant down traps, you actually have to use your skill, your memory, I guess, or just like try to organize how you're gonna take advantage of those traps to use the time that the opponent is stunned to deal damage to them, because he can do so much damage in a quick amount of time that his traps are still going to be very useful. Next is Takeshi. Takeshi used to be pretty much the strongest card in the game almost, and now he's like maybe the 12, 13, 14 best cards in the game because of all of the new characters. So I think the reason why is because of his ultimate ability. It's really strong. However, well, I don't think they need to nerf his ultimate ability because it makes him unique. What you could nerf though is his main fire. You could remove a lot of his damage to make him maybe more of an AI card, or maybe just a card that you can use to target one enemy in particular, but not to play the whole game with him. So what I would do with that is maybe reduce his main fire damage by 30 or 40%. Next characters, it's gonna be Andromeda, Queen Unicorn, and Duncan. These are sort of old school characters that are, I think, gonna be OP, not because by themselves they are OP. That's because people have been having them at a super high level, and I'm part of the problem maybe here. So I think how you fix that is you nerf their frag power. Having a 30% fire rate buff is too much for frag power, so reduce it to 20 or 15%, something like this should probably make the frag power much more balanced and not completely OP and make these cards OP. And I think for Queen Unicorn, that's all you can do with her. For Andromeda and Duncan, you probably reduce also their main fire damage by a little bit. But keep in mind, that doesn't need to happen right now. These last buffs that I've mentioned here can take a long time to happen, because you should definitely nerf the more OP cards first. And now we only have 3 more, okay? 3 more to nerf that I wanted to mention in this video. Of course, after you're done with that, you're gonna have a new meta, definitely some more new strong cards. As that happens, when you have, well, it's obviously gonna be way more balanced. I think when you nerf all these cards, there's gonna be much more cards, a larger quantity of cards that are still gonna be playable and viable in the meta. So once you do that, you can start maybe like some sort of circular nerfs. You add a new character, he's very good, then you nerf him back again. You add a new character, maybe as it used to be before they introduced Stella. Next card we wanted to nerf is, I think, Marco. Just the ultimate ability is a bit too strong, so maybe reduce it by 30%. Next thing is gonna be Jab. I think Jab is gonna be a little bit too strong here. Not too many people play him, but he's just got an insane amount of damage, which makes him unique. But the problem is that he's not gonna have any weaknesses soon, because you know, the characters that can beat him are gonna be nerfed. So I think you remove a lot of his HP. Like, his HP has been buffed recently and he's super hard to get rid of. So maybe remove something like 30% of his HP, so that he becomes sort of a glass cannon here. Super fast, super high damage, but very easy to get rid of. At least when he doesn't have his shield, that's gonna make the Jab players gonna have to use their shields very well if they want to survive. I think that will make him a very balanced character, and also very fun and like sort of a risky card. Finally, we're gonna end on the character, my favorite character maybe in the game besides Longshot here, which is gonna be, you know it, it's Scrapper. I think Scrapper is a special character here. He wouldn't be that bad. I think he would be completely balanced, if not for the fact that he is kind of stupid in Street Frag. So what you probably want to do with him is, instead of having a certain percentage of the bunker getting fixed every 12 seconds, you can have a fixed amount of HP repair on the bunkers every maybe 10 seconds. So I imagine like maybe 100 bunker HP at level 9 every 10 seconds. And you can also do something like augment the amount of bunker damage that you heal every level that you upgrade him. So maybe by 10% every level. So you know, you have actually an incentive to level him up. So let's say level 9 is 100, level 10 is going to be 110 damage, level 11 is going to be 121, and you keep going with this. I think that will make him balanced in normal mode. Like, I think he's a little bit too strong right now, and that will also make him balanced in Street Frag, because it's going to be fixed amount of bunker healing. It's not going to be 30% of the Street Frag bunker, which is like 600. Yeah, I mean, that's all I wanted to say here. I think that if these nerfs are applied pretty soon, something like 4 of them every update, at least 2 more nerfs, then there are new characters that you introduce in the game. Because if you introduce new characters, we all expect them to be OP, and I've sort of gotten used to that. Like, it's fine having a very good card introduced, because that's an incentive for new players to also pay for it, which is probably a good revenue source for OBB. So I'm fine with that if that means you still reduce the amount of ads we have to watch. I think all these buffs could make a lot of sense and make the meta so much more interesting. And like, when we look at all the characters in the game, we realize that there's so many characters that are just on the verge of being good, but there's just too many strong OP cards to even let players use them. So I'm thinking that if that happens, man, if all these nerfs happen, we're gonna see an explosion in variety of cards getting played, and finally we're gonna have an actual meta that is not defined by all of the new characters. We're gonna have some new players that are gonna have to try to figure out what deck works best for them. We're gonna have I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of time, if a lot of good times if this happens, trying to figure out what decks work with each character, because now you're gonna have like a very actual synergies, and I'm not talking about a new feature here, like synergies that will work between different new characters. And you're not only gonna have to play the more OP cards, that the recent OP cards that were introduced in Frag, you're gonna want to play actual old cards that are now viable and that may work with other characters well. You know, I think you know what I mean here. Just having a balanced meta is gonna be so much fun, would be so much fun. And I think if that doesn't happen, you're gonna have like an increasingly diminishing player base, because it's just getting boring here playing against Darius players, Selo players, and Jaeger players, AO players again and again and again and again and again and again. You know, like it's really annoying. And honestly, like in this season, I think I'm just gonna drop online mode here, because it's just like I don't like it anymore, man. I'm not having fun, and I'm trying. I was really trying this season to play new cards, have fun, but it's just, man, with Jaeger around, like it's so bad. Anyway, that's enough of me complaining. Look, I'm not trying to boycott Frag or anything. Like, it's just a personal choice. If I'm gonna be playing a game, I want to have fun, and right now with Frag, it's not really happening. Of course, I'm still gonna keep doing content here. As I said, I'm gonna be releasing a tier list soon, so if you guys want to stick around for that, I think it would be great fun for me, at least, to make tier lists, because I love talking about the meta. And even if it's still pretty boring right now, because it's only the recent cards, I think it would be fun to make and be good for new players to maybe learn a little bit about the meta right now. Anyway, so I'm saying the same thing over and over again here, so I'll just wish you guys a happy fragging, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.